If you don't know who I am, my name is Chris, and I do work here. I help out with small groups and also with young adults here at this location. And I'm just glad you all are here, and it's an honor to be with you. Would you do me a favor, though, and help me welcome in our Lakeside campus? Let's give it up for them. Lakeside, whether you're watching in the auditorium or you're sitting in our outdoor seating area, we're glad you're with us. And Happy New Year. And then also, let's welcome in those watching online at all of our locations. Our locations get to hear from their campus pastors today, so that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, y'all got me. So, yeah. But a couple of things before I jump into today's service I want to make you aware of. Got a lot coming up in the new year, so I want to fill you in on some things. First thing is this is January 9th, Young Adults kicks back off here at this location, 7 p.m. Tuesday nights, and we're doing a series called Peace of Mind. And it's a 5-week series on mental health. And if you think that the Bible doesn't speak on mental health, I'd love to surprise you. But dealing with anxiousness, depression, things like that. We're gonna emotions. We'll talk about those things in this series. And so we do, late teens, 20s, and 30s. So if you're free on Tuesday nights, you want to come hang with us at 7. And then on the 23rd, so we start on the 9th, but on the 23rd, we're doing a special night where Pastor Jeremy McGarity is going to come and speak for us, and we'll have food, and we got fire pits and stuff, and it's a cool hang. So if you would you register and let us know that you're going to come just for that day. You don't have to register for anything else, but it just lets us know so we know how much food to get for everybody. It'll be some of those yummy tacos for those of you that have come before. They're bomb. So you can sign up for there. And then our small groups are about to kick off again, and some of you have been pondering, should I lead a group? Yes, you should. It's a great way to get your oikos involved. We've got tools like Right Now Media where you can play a video and then just discuss it. So there's not a lot of prep work. We also do like a full guide. So we put a couple of questions in your notes, but we do a full 3-page sermon notes guide if you wanted to do that. But it's just a great way. If you're a good host, just have people over and host them. Sign up to lead. We're actually going to do a training coming up on the 13th. So we would love for you to sign up to lead a group coming up. So just do it. And then my last announcement is men's ministry is back, and we're kicking off a men's breakfast on the 20th from 9 to 11. And Jeremy McGarity is going to be there, and it's going to be, we're putting a lot of emphasis on this next year. And so it's $20 to come, but what that gets you is it gets you biscuits and gravy. And you get a nice new, it was like, what's he doing? You get a cool shirt. Look at the shirt. Maybe not mine's a special turtleneck edition for neck surgery people, because I just had neck surgery. So he's covering up a scar. So I don't know that they have these, but if you like them enough and there's a popular demand, maybe they'll make them. But this is the t-shirt we got that you'll get for registering. So scan the QR code and register, and you can get a t-shirt. You want a t-shirt, bro? There you go. Give it up for the men's ministry t-shirt. It's not a turtleneck. You got to go through a lot of pain to get one of those. Okay. How many of you have already given up on your New Year's resolution? Yeah, I get it. This is the time when people consider most changing in life. It is. And this year I wanted to do something different. I wanted to pick a New Year's resolution that I could stick with. Usually I pick these grand, audacious things that I just don't do. So this year I was looking online. I was reading some articles about practical things that I should do. And I was just, as I was reading it, I was like, is this person in my brain? And I was like, so I'm going to share some of these with you to see if you can relate as well, okay? The first one, and listen, there's no juice cleanses involved. There's no floor mats in any of these that you need. Like, these are simple. Simple. Number one is this. I want to remember where I left my car keys at least once a week. Thank God for the Tile app. I vow to keep my plants alive for more than a month. All you responsible people out there are judging me, but it's hard out here for a plant. I want to perfect the art of pretending to listen during Zoom meetings. It is an art, because it is hard. I disconnect so quick on a Zoom meeting. And everybody knows it too. I don't know why they keep inviting me to them. I will attempt to fold fitted sheets without summoning dark forces. It's impossible. I don't know how to do it. Master the art of parallel parking, or just continue to avoid it. Here's a good one that I think we all need. I will limit my screen time to only 8 hours of Netflix per day. Got to cut back. Become a morning person, starting at noon. And then develop the ability to remember names, even if it's just my kids. Hezzy, PJ, whoever you are, get over here. No matter what your resolution is, whether it's to, might be to lose some weight, might be to exercise more, might be to read more, might be to have better finances, whatever it is, there's one common ingredient that all of this needs, and that's time. Every one of these takes time. They say, I read an article that said why most of these New Year's resolutions fail. They say 98% of New Year's resolutions will fail by 3 months, and it's like 50% within the first 2 weeks, and then 75, 80% by the end of the first month, and then by 3 months, it's like 98% has stopped. And here's what they discovered. They discovered the reason why is because of the marginal stuff that has to happen in order for that goal or that resolution to take place. So what I mean when I say that is say you got a goal of losing weight, or you're like, I'm just going to go to the gym. Okay, cool. There is so many other steps prior to that takes time to set those things up that people don't account for when they set those things. I've got to go and get a gym membership. I've got to figure out which gym I'm going to go to. I've got to figure out a plan, a dietary plan, a workout plan. I've got to learn how to use the equipment. I've got to go get new shoes and a new gym fit. And there's all of this stuff that people don't account for when they when they focus on the main goal that causes them to give up on the goal. And so 98% of New Year's resolutions fail because of time. And so I want to talk about that. So look, quick question, and we can just be honest in here. By show of hands, and over there at Lakeside too, how many of you would say you could use an extra hour in your day? Raise your hand. Yeah, okay. Go-getters. Now let's be a little bit more honest, okay? How many of you would say that you're not always a good steward of the hours you already have? Okay, we're already connecting the dots. This is good. We all waste time, right? I'm the king of wasting time. So listen. I'm going to tell you a bunch about me so that you know that I'm not preaching at you. I need this message just as much as you do, because I waste a whole lot of time. So this isn't me like looking down on anybody. Like you can call me the pastor of wasted time. I'm that guy. I once tried to teach a cat for 3.5 hours to walk on a leash. And I don't care what you say. I watched all the YouTube videos. It cannot be done. It can't. If you want to see what a Tasmanian devil looks like in real life, try to teach a cat to walk on a leash. I don't even know how they do it. They'll do like 720 barrel rolls, like all in one jump, like, ah! And like spazzing everywhere. I had cuts all over my arms. I was bleeding. Like, it was awful. And by the end of it, the cat, that's what the cat sounded like. And it wasn't walking. Like, by the end of it, I'm bleeding dragging the cat, and he's laying on his side like this, just getting pulled. Wasted time. YouTube lied to me. What about scrolling? I waste a lot of time on social media, and especially around the holidays. Because like when all the in-laws and everybody are over, there's no place to go, so you go to the bathroom, right? I'm preaching to everybody right now. 45 minutes, you're in there just taking a breath. Just scrolling, trying to catch a break. And we can lose a lot of time doing that. We can, like, I'll get lost sometimes. Like one time I accidentally scrolled past like a 1 little minute video of some chick like talking about like teaching people how to like read faces. She like trained CIA people or something. I like went to her website and then spent like the next 6 hours of the day watching how to like learn people's face, like what they're thinking, if they're lying, if they're not. Like I can tell what all of you are thinking right now. It's not good. This is terrible to admit for a lot of us, but the shows we watch, right? How many of you lose a lot of time on TV shows? This is really embarrassing for me, and I can relate. I started a 5-season series, and I finished it in 2 weeks. I know you're like, what else does he do in life other than watch TV? But a lot of us, we also waste time worrying about things that never happen. Worrying about what our bosses think or what our neighbors think or what people think about us. And we get hyper-focused on that. We invest into people who are really needy, and we don't spend a lot of times with our friends that are just casual friends because we're over-invested in the wrong places. So whatever it is, whatever you're trying to change, it's easy for us to recognize there's a time to change. What I think we need, though, is whenever there's a time to change, we have to change how we look at time and how we use that. And so let me talk to you a little bit about time. The first thing I know this about time is it's valuable, okay? Time is valuable. If you're taking notes, you want to write that down. The Greek philosopher Theophritus said this. He said, time is the most valuable thing a man can spend. That's how we know it's valuable, because you spend it. You spend it at work, you spend it at church, you spend it with family, you spend it with friends, you spend it at bars, you spend it at beaches. Wherever you spend it, you spend it. And that makes it valuable. But also, time is a tool. Time is a tool. And I got a tool up here, and there are some things about this tool that are similar to time that I want to talk to you about. When I say time is a tool, here's what I mean. I mean you use it. You use it, right? You use your time. And what I mean when I say that is you do the right thing at the right time. Just like this hammer, there's a right time and a right purpose to use this hammer, right? There's also a wrong time and a wrong purpose to use this hammer. But if I'm using it correctly as a tool, then I'm using it at the right time. And I'm using it to do the right thing. And this is similar to time. So just like this hammer, if I want to, I got my big Christmas bonus and I wanted a Clark Griswold pool in the backyard or an indoor hot tub, and I start building. I use my hammer and I build. I can use it. But just like every tool, not only can you use it, you can also abuse it. Right? And that is doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. So that would mean, I might take this and just slap one of you with it. That was not a threat. But that would be the wrong use at the wrong time. Never is it the right time to smack somebody with this, and nor is it the right use. I am willing to concede on both of those, though, because there are some people. You know what I mean? I'm just playing. You can use it, you can abuse it, you can also misuse it. And what I mean by that is you can take this tool and you can add on that addition, and you can start that addition at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's doing the right thing at the wrong time. And this is what we do with our time. Right? It might be the right thing for your family to go on vacation, but when you're thousands and thousands of dollars in debt, probably a trip to Turks and Caicos is it's not the right time. You might be recovering from some things and trying to get out of some things or stop doing some things, and it may be the right thing to spend time with your friends, but if they're headed to a place that has a lot of triggers, right thing, wrong time. You guys get what I'm saying? So we can use it, we can abuse it, we can misuse it, but here's what I want you to get. You can never reuse it. Once it's gone, it's gone. We don't get a second time. And for most of us, we think we do, right? And that's because I think our perspective on time is that we misunderstand it. And we think we have a whole lot of time ahead of us when really we don't. And I'll show you a verse at the end that will sum all of this up together. But when we recognize how short our time is, we become more focused and more intentional with how we spend it. So I did this like little math problem one time that really helped me get a perspective of what it looked like. Because how many of you have ever used the saying, I'll get to it next week? Right? Because in our minds, in this fairy tale we write about next week is this beautiful land of just lots of opportunity with nothing in the way of it. Until we get to it, and it really isn't like that. So let me show you really quick. If you took 24 hours a day times 7, that's going to give you 168 hours in a week. Now, who does that apply to? That applies to everybody. Whether you're black, white, poor, rich, old, young, we all have the same amount of time next week, 168 hours. I'm going to take out just 2 things from this, okay? Just 2 things. I'm going to stay very general. Some of you might be plus or minus, over or under. But I'm just to stay general, I'm going to take out a 40-hour work week, okay? Or maybe that's school for some of you, 40 hours. We'll take out 40 hours. And then if we did 8 hours a night of sleep, that's what you're supposed to do. So some of you do way less, some of you do way, way more. But I'm staying general. 8 hours, that's 56 hours for sleep. If you add these 2 up, that's 96 hours, and you subtract 96 from this, and you have 72 hours left. I haven't, for those of you who can't connect the dots, that's 3 days. So your 7 days of next week to get to things is just dropped to 3 days by just subtracting these 2 things. I haven't even talked about time with Jesus. I haven't even talked about time with your kids. I haven't even talked about if you go to a night school or a side hustle. I haven't added any of those in. I haven't added in food or eating time. I haven't added in time for exercise. But you got 3 days. Do you see how our brains disillusion ourselves into thinking we have more time in the future when really if we just did some simple math, we really don't? And this week is going to look exactly like next week. Unless we recognize that this is what we have left, and then we become intentional with it, because that's not a lot of time. 3 days is not a lot of time to do the things that I need to do. And this is why it's so easy for us to run out of time, because we misjudge it. We think 7 days is a long time, and when we say, oh, we'll get to it, we really don't have that much. And you can see how this can compound. So when that's just in 1 week. So add that up times 4. That's how much time you've got in a month. Add that up times 12. That's how much time you've got left in a year. You can see how it shrinks and it shrinks and it shrinks and it shrinks. So how do we get the best use of our time? This is Paul, a guy who lived 2,000 years ago. He had a lot to do with the Bible that you read. He wrote a lot, especially in the New Testament. He was a traveling missionary, apostle for Jesus, planted a lot of churches, and he had this to say to one of the churches that he planted in Ephesus. And here's what he said. He said, "Look carefully then how you walk." Circle the word carefully. "Not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. So mismanaging our time is not something new. It's not something that is, solely, we can't just blame it solely on Netflix and YouTube or scrolling or social media. Time management has been a thing that everybody has tried to figure out for a long time. Because here Paul is, and he's telling this church, which would have been similar to us, a gathering of people that maybe they did it differently, it looked differently, but gathering of people who had external things that were vying for their time, that were pulling for their time. They had things like the Judaizers, which was a group of Jewish people that were trying to get the Christian church who were following Jesus to conform to the Jewish tradition and the Jewish nationality. They wanted them to look like them, sound like them, talk like them, which meant if you're a boy, get out the scissors, snip, snip. If you were, you had to conform to the hand washing ceremonies and all of the different traditions and things that they had in place, and they thought this was the best use for your time. This was what they wanted that church to do. There were also pagan temples that existed in that city that fought for the best use of their time. And when I say pagan temples, you cannot think of a church service on 1 hour on a Sunday. That's not how society was in the first century. The society was very much wrapped around religion, all types of religions. So a temple, you don't think Skyline Service, think Applebee's, because it was a place of social gathering. Meaning, if you wanted to climb the corporate ladder or have a business meeting, you did it at a pagan temple. If you wanted to meet with family and friends and have a night out, you most likely did it at a pagan temple. So that was also pulling for their time and attention, saying, hey, if you want to grow your business, if you want to do, then this is where you got to go. This is where you got to be. And Paul says to them, he says, look, pay attention. Look carefully. He said, look carefully how you're using your time. And then he said there's only two ways that we can use it. Is what he told this church. He said you can only use it these two ways, wise and unwise. That's it. That's the only way for you to use the time. Now this word wise in the Greek, it means skilled or cultivated, learned, meaning over time, those who've paid attention to how they walk and how they live have developed the skill to wisely use the time that they have. The word unwise means foolish. Surprise, surprise. It means foolish. You're a fool if you misuse time. That's what the Bible said. I didn't say that. But a foolish person, what it's communicating here, a foolish person is somebody who will go through time, through life, just fumbling around from one thing to the next, never paying attention to the time that they have. And the Bible would say that if this is what you do, you're using your time foolishly. But the good news is wisdom, according to the Greek, is a skill. It means we can learn it. You're not just born, none of us are just born knowing how to use Calendly. But we can learn how to make wise decisions over time with how we spend our time. And the word he uses here when he says to make the best use of time is the word kairos. And the word kairos means opportunity. Fitting season means an opportunity. And it comes from the Greek word kara, which means head. Okay? So I want you to think of this word when you put these words together. Here's the imagery it would take. Time then is an opportunity where a decision comes to head. What decision? The decision to use it wisely or unwisely. Now, how different is even just this definition of time as an opportunity? Because I don't look at time like that, do you? The truth is I wouldn't blow an opportunity. Would you? If someone told you today, hey, I'm going to pay for you to travel the world. I just need you to get off Instagram for 3 hours. Stay off TikTok. That's all that I need. and I'll pay for you to travel the world for the rest of your life. Would you blow that opportunity? No. You wouldn't. If somebody said, hey, you need to stop watching Yellowstone and I'll give you $1 million, would you do it? Yes, I'd go buy my own Yellowstone. I'd go live up there if I wanted to, because I would recognize the opportunity ahead of us. But how quickly do I just blow time when I don't realize it's an opportunity? How quick am I to pass up time to be with my boys? How quick am I to give up time to be with the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords? How quickly will I blow time to spend with my spouse? Or to invest into a hobby or something that matters to me? We wouldn't blow an opportunity, but we will constantly blow our time. So what if we looked at our time as an opportunity? That we got 3 days this next week. Those are my 3 days worth of opportunities. What am I going to do with it? And there's a story of this in Luke chapter 10. It's a story about two women, a girl named Mary and Martha. And Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem, and he's coming to visit them. And I want you to see, because it's what we're talking about. I want you to see how Jesus kind of embraces this scenario, because it would be important for us. And I think we can learn something from these two ladies. Jesus would have been on his way to Jerusalem, probably had about 70, 75 people following him. And it says this: as Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened up her home. Circle that word, home. That's important to know, that this is Martha's home. I'll tell you why in a sec. Opened his home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted, underline that word distracted, by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her to help me. Now, here's what I want us to know. In this story, there are two ladies. Both ladies are in the same house at the same time, which means you could say they were in the same house and both had the same opportunity. One chose to sit in a room with Jesus and other followers of Jesus and listen to Jesus, and the other chose to be in another room preparing all the things that needed to be prepared. Now, before we villainize Martha, here's what you got to understand, because it's so easy, right? In our society, we read this, post this moment, and looking back, and we go, oh, silly Martha, why wasn't she in the other room? And we tend to think of ourselves as Mary, who's in the other room. But we villainize Martha when in cultural context and in that day, in that society, Martha was not the villain. Mary was the villain. Mary would have been the villain. Here's why. A woman was never allowed to sit at the foot of a rabbi. Ever. That wouldn't have been allowed. So one, she's already way in the wrong for doing that. Thankfully, Jesus wasn't Baptist. Just kidding. Just playing. Had to throw that out there. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Number two is, if you owned a home, and this is why I had you circle Martha opened up her home. If you owned a home, you were responsible for three things anytime you had guests over at your house. And not responsible like meaning it was suggested, meaning like it was what you did. You did that or you were weird. You were responsible for food, entertainment, and hospitality. Those are the three things everybody was responsible for. So Martha is not in the wrong here. Martha's actually doing what everybody else would have done. And Martha would have been doing what was considered to be the good thing. It would have been Mary that would have looked out of place. And here's what I want you to know about Martha. This is how I put it in your notes. Martha was just doing what was normal. She was just doing what was normal. This is what everybody would have done. Mary was the weirdo. Mary was the one not doing what everybody else was doing. And what Martha was doing was culturally what was acceptable. It was what everybody would have done. It's what a lot of us would do if we had people over at our house. They were good things. But yet, Jesus said they were still a distraction. And here's what I'm willing to bet. I'm willing to bet this. Most of us, we're not at odds when it comes to our time with like evil, disgusting, gross things. Like we're not like deciding whether we spend time with our kid or go rob a bank. That's not most of us. Most of us are like Martha and we're distracted by normal things that everyone else does in our society. We want the house to look good. We want a big paycheck. We want to do all the things, and these are normal. I'm not saying social media is bad. It's normal. I'm saying it could be a distraction. I'm not saying shows are bad. I'm saying it could be a distraction. I'm not saying your work is bad. Depending on who's in the room, though, is it a distraction? And then Jesus, he goes on to say this. He says, Martha, Martha. Let me pause for a second. When he's not speaking to an authoritative figure, when you see that word back to back like that, doubled up, he's emphasizing something. He's saying, like, pay attention. Like, he's putting an exclamation mark on it, even though he probably wasn't yelling. Like in our day when we want to emphasize, I'll get really loud. I might clap my hands, get big, so that you pay attention to what I'm about to say next. This means he's emphasizing what he's about to say to Martha, but I want you to pretend for just a moment he's speaking to you, okay? He says, you are worried and upset about many things. Aren't there so many things that have us worried and upset? Our children, the bills, the government, the price of gas, my job, my friends. We've got so many things that we're worried about. And he says this, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. And Mary has chosen, circle that word chosen, what is better. And it will not be taken from her. He said this, he said, only few things are needed. Martha did what was normal. Mary did what was needed. And sometimes what's needed is not what's normal. Let me say that again. Sometimes what's needed in your life, in your priorities, is not what is normal. It's not what everybody else is doing, even if they are good, willing, well-intended Christian people. Sometimes you have to step back and ask yourself, what do I need? If I've only got 72 hours next week, who's going to get that time? What's going to get that time? What is absolutely needed? And here's what it boils down to. It boils down to, it's all about a choice. It says Mary chose what was better. No one is sticking a gun to our head telling us how to spend our time. We willingly blow it. We willingly give it away. We willingly misuse it. It all boils down to a choice. And the choice is this, is we have to choose to do what is needed first. Which means you have to understand what is needed first. You have to know what is needed first. Because in the Bible it says this in 42, verse 42, it says that, and he said this about Mary, and it will not be taken from her. So what does that imply? That implies that someone, somewhere, something is going to try to take it. That you might decide what is needed, but someone will try to take that away. Something will call. You'll get the phone call. Can you cover this shift? Can you do this thing? Can you come and be with me? And you're going to have to make a decision, because a decision is coming to a head on how you're going to spend your next opportunity. Wisely or unwisely? You just going to go with what's in front of you, or are you going to decide to do what is needed first? And here's how we do this. We begin with the end in mind. Stephen Covey said that. We imagine ourselves laid out in a casket and life is over, okay? And you've got friends at your funeral, you've got family at your funeral, you got your kids at your funeral. What is it you want them to say about you? This is how you decide what to do. This is how you decide what you need to do. What is it you want them to say about you? What are the things you want them to talk about? And it's funny because I literally I wasn't in a coffin, but it felt like I was. I was in a hospital, and I was about to have neck surgery. This just happened in December. I wasn't joking. That's why I got the turtleneck on. And I've had major surgeries done. I've torn both Achilles before, but they put me out. Like, they put me out before they took me to the operating room. And this time they take me out of my room. They got me on the IV. I got the gown on. It's very drafty and cold. And I'm going down the hallway, and it's like freezing. And like, I want you to just picture like a scene from Looney Tunes, like the like the Death Angel. Like this is like what it felt like going down this hallway. There's like dudes like laying in the hallways on their beds, like looking at me as I pass by, and I'm like, I'm dead. This is it. I'm done. And then they take me into the operating room, and they put me on this table, and I can see all the tools, I can see all the x-rays and these bright lights, and then they start strapping me down while I'm awake. I'm like, I can't deal with this saw type of stuff, man. I'm not built for this. And I was like, I told the dude, like, at first I was just hoping he'd get to it. And then eventually I was like, bro, you put the mask on me, shoot me up with something, take me out. I can't be here. I can't handle this. I'm freaking out right now. I can't scratch my nose because my hands are strapped. My pets' heads are falling off. But, they say the procedure is going to be safe, but that thought crosses your mind at any major surgery. What if this is it? Did I do everything I could to love my boys and teach them the things that I wanted to while I was here? Did I spend time with my spouse and make sure she knew that I loved her more than anything else in this world? Have I invested my life into following Jesus the way that I had wanted to? Not something I was hoping I would do tomorrow, but have I given everything that I have right now? And the truth is that the foolish person, the unwise person, will go through life never considering that. But they'll all be on that bed someday when there's no more time left. Let me say it a different way. When there's no more opportunities left to be a dad, to be a mom, to be a sister, to be a brother, to be a child, to be a friend. And the wise person won't consider that. And they'll just the unwise person won't consider that, and they'll just fumble through life. So you got to identify, what are those things that you want people to say about you when you're no longer here? What are those things? For me, I've got 5 things. 1, I want people to say that I was a good follower of Jesus, that I studied scripture for myself. I didn't just take what a pastor told me. I didn't just take what a university taught me or a book. I got in the Word because I wanted to truly, truly follow Jesus in the way that I watched his disciples follow him. That's what I want people to say about me. Did I love like him? Did I treat people the way he would have treated? Did I do those things? Second thing is I want people to say that I was a good husband, that I spent time with my spouse, that I was intentional, that I was the first to forgive, that I want my wife to know that she's the most important thing and gets the most attention from me. I want my boys to be able to say that I taught them how to be wise and have good judgment and have the courage to do the right thing even when it's hard. The 4th thing is I want to be a good friend, a good leader with my friends. I want to be the friend people come to when they need help. I want to be the friend that helps people out. That's the 4th thing. And the 5th thing is I just really want people to say that I was really, really good looking. I'm not sure I have control over that one. So we'll say I've got 4. I've got 4 things. But those are the things that I wish people would say about me when I'm done. So now once you have those things, then you decide to do them. This is how you set your priorities. Okay, if I want to follow Jesus well, then I need to be in the room where Jesus is. I remember this one time. I was a pastor in Illinois, and I was writing a message for a Sunday morning like this. We have basements, though, because it's Illinois, and you spend 10 months out of the year in them. And I'm down in the basement while my kids are upstairs. Hezi, my now 7-year-old, was 2 at the time, and I was writing the message, and he comes. You can hear his little footsteps like on the wood. If any of you have lived in a house with like a basement or like an upper deck, like you can hear the do, like the little kid feet running. And he comes down and he's like, "Hey, Dad, you play with me?" And I'm like, "Soon, son. I gotta finish this message soon." He goes, "Okay." He runs out of the room. You hear his little footsteps running up top. And, 10 minutes goes by. 20 minutes goes by. 30 minutes goes by. Here he comes again. "Daddy, you play with me now?" "Soon, son." It's so interesting how much like Martha I was. Because now I'm the irritated one. Now I'm the one who's frustrated because my priorities are wrong and because I'm in the wrong room. And so I tell my son, "Soon, son. I'll be there soon." And I can still hear the sound of those little feet. And I remember thinking to myself, if I keep telling my son soon enough, I'm not going to have this opportunity again. And I pulled out my phone, and I made a note in my phone that said, "Little Hezi's footsteps." And I wrote it down, what it sounded like. And I said, I'm not going to blow this opportunity. Y'all are going to have thousands, you guys will have multiple pastors in your life. My son will have another than me. He'll never have it. He's only got one. So I got up and I closed the book and I said, okay, that's it. And I went and I started playing with my son. And here's what I decided from that day. And I'm not perfect. I've blown opportunities since. But I'm saying this. When it comes to my head, sometimes it never comes to my head, the time that's in front of me. It just never gets there. But if I can get it there on what I'm missing, on what I'm blowing, then I can do something about it. And I decided that from that day, no matter what it costs me, I'm not going to give this up. If I've got to say no to some things at work, I'm going to say no. If that means that I give a subpar message up here to you because that means that I spent time with him, then that's what I'm going to do. Because I'm not going to blow this one opportunity that I have. I have to decide what is needed, and sometimes what is needed is not what's normal. Lolly Daskell said, to master time management is to set priorities among your goals. There's never enough time to do everything, but there's always enough time to do what is important. For those of us, we just need to maybe get in the right room. Martha was in the wrong room mentally, and so that put her in the wrong room physically. Her mind was on entertainment. Her mind was on a to-do list. Her mind was on being a good host. Not bad, just wasn't best. And you know what she missed? There's 3 other people in that room. There was Jesus, her sister, and other followers of Jesus. And here's what I'm telling you. When we misuse our time, what I've learned is those are the 3 that go first, that we miss out on. We give up time with Jesus, we give up time with our family, and we give up time with other Jesus followers. And then we get mad at the church. Well, they didn't call me. You haven't come for like 8 months. We give it up. And we miss out because we're on the wrong room. What if we reverse engineered it? That if mentally controls our physical, and so we're mentally concerned with the wrong things, so physically we're in the wrong room. What if we just recognize what room we're in? We just start physically putting ourselves in the right room until our mental aligns with it. What if we just start looking at, oh, I'm over here spending my 75th hour of work this week while my son is having a ball game over here. I really want to be here, but I'm going to put myself in the right room here. Maybe for some of you, that's spending less time in front of this thing to get in the right yard or the right thing with your family, or spend time in the Word. What if your next morning, you're not a morning person? You're like, I hate mornings. But what if you didn't look at it like that, and you were like, oh, this is an opportunity to spend time with the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords? Let's get in the right room, man. 2024, let's be in the right room. Just remember that. I'm going to get in the right room, because this is the skilled, cultivated, learned way to spend the most valuable thing I have, and I cannot just do and be consumed with what's normal. All these normal nomads floating around, just it's not going to be me. And it's not going to be you. Lakeside, y'all hear me. You get this. Thank you. Close with this. Psalm 90:12 summarizes everything. Teach us to realize how short our lives are. Then our hearts will become wise. When you realize you don't have as much time as you think you have, you'll start to treat the time you do have as the greatest opportunity ahead of you. And if you do it right, you'll spend it in the right room with the people who need you most, and a God that loves you and desperately wants to spend time with you. Let's make 2024 the year where we're in the room with Jesus. And let's be in the room with our family. And let's be there with other Jesus followers. Let's pray. Lord, there's some people in here right now that need to do this first. They need to give their lives to you. If that's you, here's what I want you to do. We call it the ABCs. It means first thing you got to do is you got to admit you need Jesus. Admit that life, eternity, time is all granted by him, for him, and through him. And that we are sinners in need of someone to save us. And once we admit that, then we begin to believe it. We believe that Jesus was the Son of God, that he came down, died, and rose again so that we might have life with him and forgive us of all of our sins. And then we choose to make him the leader of our life every day, to choose to follow him and commit to doing things the Jesus way. Sometimes that's not doing what's normal. So if that's you, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pray this with me. I'll lead you. Just pray it in the silence of your own heart. You don't have to say it out loud, but pray this with me. Say this. Say, Jesus, I'm a sinner. I know that I need you. And I'm coming to you today because I believe that Jesus died and rose again for me. And I choose to give you my life today and to follow you for the rest of mine. In Jesus' name. And there are those of you who need to recommit your lives. Maybe you've just been going around. Maybe you got sucked into just doing what's normal. And it's been a long, long time since you've been in the room with Jesus. That's okay. He's still there. and he's still inviting you into the room. So if you'd like to recommit your life, say this in the silence of your own heart. Just say, God, I'm ready to be back in the room with you. I'm ready to give my life to you again. Help me in 2024 to do what is needed first, to make you a priority again. In Jesus' mighty name. Everybody said, Amen. Amen.